What's up, guys? It's Jay, and today I'm going to be talking with you about breathing and being short of breath and and associated anxiety that can come with it. You know, if it can cause panic attacks, or if you're already asthmatic, it can cause asthma attack, which is essentially a panic attack caused from shortness of breath. And I'm familiar with shortness of breath. I've been asthmatic my whole life. I used to be a smoker. You know, I reached a point in life to where I literally couldn't take a breath in. You know, and that's when I stopped smoking, and then I started discovering some of this information I'm about to share with you. And this is going to be a quick checklist of how maybe you can manage your shortness of breath. It's not going to solve shortness of breath, but it's going to teach you how to correctly breathe and take away tension and anxiety, like physical anxiety, not just mental. I mean, it's all tied together, but the physical side of the anxiety caused by having shortness of breath. And there's other videos that go into more detail on YouTube or in books, and I'll share a big book that changed my life. I'll share in the description. But yeah, this checklist is going to go over just the basics of how you should be breathing. And if you're not doing all this stuff, then you know your shortness of breath must not be too big of an issue, because this is baseline stuff here. You know, and a lot of people. What's funny is this is a lot of basic information that a lot of people that, as a child, they knew this information, but as you grow up, you're programmed. You've hard-grained programmed a lot of bad breathing habits, and not just breathing habits, but a lot of other bad physical habits. But it all starts with breathing. But if you look at a child does this naturally. Alright, so the checklist. First one is, are you breathing in your nose as much as possible? And if not, you should be trying to do all your breathing through your nose, in and out. Now, understand that you can't always do that, and you should always try to breathe sufficiently. So sometimes you can't inhale sufficiently using just your nose, and when that happens, you inhale all you can with your nose, and you take in the extra with your mouth that you need. And the same thing with exhalation. If you can breathe all the way out using just your nose without impeding your breath, without stopping your flow of breath, then do that. But if not, you breathe out as much as you can with your nose and the rest with your mouth. Now, your nose is your main, like, upper respiratory organ, basically, your nasal passages. I mean, they're what you're supposed to be using to breathe in. Now, with breathing out, it's not as imperative to breathe out of your nose, but it's still better. Breathing out of your mouth is pretty important when you're trying to, because your nose is not going to be able to expel, especially during times of stress or during times where you need extra breath. Breathing out your nose is not going to be fast enough. So that's why you should just kind of like have your mouth just slightly open, just like I am right now, just as you'd normally be sitting, because normally you're not sitting with your lips pursed together. Your mouth's going to be slightly open most of the time. So you just kind of let the air spill out of your mouth if you're breathing correctly. Okay. Number 2 is using your diaphragm. Now, breathing out of the diaphragm is probably one of the most important parts. I mean, all this stuff's pretty essential, but breathing in the diaphragm is very essential, because, I mean, what it does is, you got to think of it this way. The diaphragm is a dome-shaped muscle. It's underneath your lungs. And in a relaxed position, it's in a dome. And when it flexes, it flattens out. And what that causes, it causes your lungs to form a vacuum, and it sucks air in. And that's the only way you should be breathing. A lot of people will, they'll pull air in with their chest, and they'll bring their shoulders up. No, you shouldn't be doing that. You should not be doing that. The reason you shouldn't be doing that is because all this extra mannerism takes a lot of extra energy. And not only that, you're pulling air, you're using muscle, which is requiring more oxygen. You're using muscle to do all this. What you should be doing is trying to relax every single muscle in your body. Every little tension you can think of, You should be trying to take your breath in with no mannerism. Now I'll give you an example. This is me taking in a breath. This is me taking in a fast breath. And just kind of letting breath spill out. Now, when you do this kind of puff up, raise your shoulders, poke your chest out type breathing, what you're doing is you're taking air into the upper lobes of your lungs, which that's where all your panic receptors are, and it kind of forces you to be in a fight or flight. It forces your body to go into a fight or flight state, which is not good. That portion of your lungs and that use of your lungs is there for a reason, and it's for fight or flight. It's for emergency. It's there if you need it. But your day-to-day, just regular breathing, you should be trying to force as much of that as you can into the diaphragm. And like I said, it doesn't require muscle. You should be trying to keep every muscle soft and loose. Once you feel a muscle tense up, be mindful about it and try to stop it. Like, using your brain, just stop tensing that muscle. You know what I'm saying? And when you're breathing out, it's the same way. Do you breathe out? Do you squeeze abdominal? Do you squeeze thoracic muscles to try to get your breath out? You're not supposed to be doing that either. But breathing using purely your diaphragm, like I said, when you breathe in, you're supposed to be just flexing your diaphragm. Now this is going to be hard for a lot of people if you're not breathing that way. A simple way to check yourself is to put a hand on your chest and a hand on your stomach and look down. Breathe in. Which hand is moving? Is your upper hand moving? If your upper hand is moving, you're breathing in the top part of your chest, and that's wrong. You need to be breathing in the bottom part, which means your belly is going to poke out. Which means if you normally use muscles to hold your belly in, to tuck your belly in, to look better, you need to loosen all those muscles up, let them go soft, and just let your belly poke out. Now if you're new to this, when you breathe in, it might be a hard thing to do to breathe into your diaphragm. So a lot of people call it belly breathing, and they'll actually start out by pushing their belly out when they're breathing. Like they're using a little bit of muscle to push their belly out when they're breathing, and that's how I started to learn how to do it. But as time goes on, just focus on not using the upper part of your chest and trying to keep all these muscles loose while still pulling air down into your belly. Or in your mind, it should be you're pulling breath down as low as you can get it, like to your feet even. Like in your mind, you should be trying to pull a breath down to your feet. And if those lower lobes of your lung fills up and it starts to hit these upper part of your lungs, you'll feel that cap of air. You'll feel that your lungs are reaching their capacity, and they're like almost like a stretching type sensation. But once you reach that point, that's when you stop breathing in, and your body will sufficiently breathe out. If you're completely relaxed and you relax your diaphragm, your body's going to sufficiently push out the right amount of air that it needs to push out at that point in time. Okay, next step. Yeah, I was just talking about when you breathe out, do you squeeze your breath out using muscle tension? Most people probably are. So yeah, breathing out should not be forced. It should spill out naturally. And that's why I say keep your mouth slightly open when you're breathing, even if you're not using your mouth to breathe. Because you breathe out, like if your body's trying to naturally let your breath release, most of it's probably going to spill out your mouth and some out of your nose. As long as you're not holding back your nose breath or your mouth breath, it's going to spill out where it needs to spill out at. Alright. Don't focus on emptying your lungs. Your body's going to breathe out sufficiently. If all your muscles are relaxed, your body's going to breathe out sufficiently, and you don't have to squeeze or force your lungs to empty. You don't want your lungs to empty completely, unless you're doing a particular exercise that involves that. But as far as normal day-to-day breathing, moment-to-moment breathing, don't try to squeeze all the last air out of your lungs. Let it sit there, and your body will let it spill out when it's necessary. The next one's going to be a little bit harder for people because it's, I mentioned mannerisms and moving your chest and raising your shoulders and doing all this. You should try to keep as much of your body perfectly still as you can while you're breathing. And doing that tension free and without using muscle, relaxing, like using all relaxation. You shouldn't be breathing in and trying to tense yourself in place to hold your body still. That's not what I'm talking about. And I'll give you another example. This is me breathing in. And breathing out. Could you tell the difference in my mannerisms? Maybe only slightly. But as far as like me moving my chest, my shoulders, pulling my head back, making a bunch of facial a bunch of facial mannerisms and all that, let all that go. Perfectly relax. If you feel a muscle tensing up, be mindful of it and focus on relaxing that muscle. And that's how you're supposed to breathe. Learning how to properly burst breathe, which is when your body doesn't have sufficient breath and you need to take in more breath. I kind of showed you that a moment ago. Basically, you use your mouth and your nose. When you're burst breathing, you use your mouth and your nose to pull in breath as fast as you can. And like I said, no mannerisms, no hiking your chest up. Because I remember when I was asthmatic and I couldn't catch a breath, I'd do this. I would be doing that to try to catch my breath, and that's not what you should be doing because it's putting you in a panic state. It's using the upper part of your upper lobes of your lungs. It's insufficient. It's putting wear and tear in your body. It's making things harder for you. So a proper burst breath would be, like I said, no mannerisms, no raising the shoulders, staying perfectly still, relaxing, and just pulling in air as fast as you can with your nose and mouth, not restricting either one of them. And you'll see I still do it. I can feel myself doing a few mannerisms, but the focus is always to stay mindful of those mannerisms and try to get rid of them as time goes on. Trying to just train yourself to not do them. So let's try it again. A few burst breaths. And as you can see, even though I know how to do it, I still feel my neck tensing. I feel myself clenching a little bit. And that's natural. That's going to happen a little bit. But you should always be focused on reducing it. And as you go along, it'll be easier and easier to reduce those unnecessary tensions and get your breathing proper. Your burst breathing proper. Now that burst breathing, it's not just when you're out of breath. Burst breathing, if you're doing this breathing and you're staying sensitive and you're staying relaxed, burst breathing can be used preemptively. Like let's say you're taking a cold shower. You know how you jump in a cold shower and you're not used to it. It's going to force you to take a deep breath. It's going to force you to take a breath. People are saying it's taking the breath away from you, but really it's making you take a breath in. And it's taking over your nervous system. So if you don't want something to dominate your nervous system, you preemptively breathe. For instance, if you're receiving pain or you've received, like you stubbed your toe or anything, you need to burst breathe just as I showed you. You don't need to react. You don't need to clench up. You don't need to grab your foot. You don't need to, writhe in pain. You need to, in your mind, act like it didn't happen and burst breathe. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow your body to digest the pain as opposed to toughing through it and having it impact your system, all your systems. You're allowing it to be digested, just like food or something, or food or drink. And that's going to help you better yourself and grow and become a healthier person. And that's pretty much it for the checklist. The thing about, I'm going to touch again on diaphragm breathing again, because if we're talking about like asthma or viruses, unnamed viruses going around right now, or anything else where it's filled, your lungs is carrying fluid, like pneumonia or something like that, the chances of all that happening are much greater if you don't breathe your diaphragm. Because what happens is if you don't breathe your diaphragm and you're using all abdominal muscles and all thoracic muscles to do it, your lungs are staying sedentary. And what that does is that causes stuff like pneumonia to set in. And let's say you've got a really bad virus, or you've got anything else that's breathing related, it's causing you to breathe irregularly, or breathe how you normally wouldn't, or like I said, if you already don't have the proper breathing habits in place, your lungs are going to stiffen, your lungs are sedentary, and they're going to accumulate fluid, and you're going to catch pneumonia and other similar sicknesses. And even if you already have these sicknesses, doing this kind of breathing is going to help break all that crap up, and not just break it up, but help carry you forward and progress past it and digest the sickness. So yeah, diaphragm breathing is super important. Breathing in the nose as much as you can, super important. Always breathing in and out sufficiently. Not holding your breath back just to use your nose or mouth. You know what I'm saying? If your nose isn't bringing in or breathing out enough air, use your mouth too. Just together, like. And another thing I didn't really mention, but the breath change is the most important part of your breath. Like going from breathing in to breathing out. Like that's the most important part. That needs to stay smooth and fluid, like a cycle, like a circle. You know what I'm saying? Like, and if you're not breathing that way, that's causing an impact to your system, and it's going to cause fight or flight and anxiety and all that other same stuff I already mentioned. It's going to exacerbate all that. But the last thing I'm going to touch on is in this video is breathing is the only autonomous function in your body that you have direct control over. You can't directly take over anything else in your body as far as autonomy goes. But the breath does directly affect all your other autonomous systems. So if you get good and control your breath, you can learn to regulate your other autonomous systems without thinking about it too much directly. And there's further steps past breathing involved with getting into that. But breathing is the building block. It's the number one step. And if you can't do the stuff I mentioned in this video, don't worry about anything else. Just focus on proper breathing. Focus on keeping your physical stress to a minimum, which will help your mental stress. And focus on not tensing muscles, and focus on correct breathing, and being mindful of tensions and pains and tightnesses in your body, and trying to breathe through them and digest them. And that'll take you a long way. And I'm not a medical expert, but the thing about that is we all have lungs, and we all have the ability to try this stuff out and figure it out for ourselves. So I'm not going to sit here and say this is a cure for anything, but this is how you should be breathing before you catch anything. Especially if you already have pre-existing lung issues like asthma or something, or COPD, you should already be on all this. And on top of that, I mean, if you're watching this video and you're still a smoker or something, this is not an intervention or something. Just quit smoking. You want to know how to quit smoking? You just stop. You don't try to get on any kind of medicine. You don't try to mind screw yourself. You just put the pack down and say, I don't need it, and you stop buying cigarettes. It's that simple. And I used to smoke. I smoked 2 packs a day, so I know how it is. But it took me a couple times to get it to where I could quit. But that's the simple and plain fact of the matter. And like I said, getting these breathing techniques down, it'll improve your life in all ways. It'll improve your immune system function, your nervous system function. Those are intimately tied together. The research studies are out there. Go look them up. Your nervous system is vital to your immune system and your endocrine system. And the only way you can affect those actively is by managing your breath and breathing correctly. So I hope you take this stuff to heart. I hope it helped you. Once again, I'm not a medical professional. Do your own research. We'll see you guys next time. I'll probably do more related to health videos or Systema related videos. You might not know what Systema is. And I'll put a link to the Systema book in the description below. They kind of taught me a lot of this, but I pulled my information from a lot of sources. I've studied Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, their burst breathing there. I've studied the Systema breathing. I've studied Wim Hof. And I suggest looking into all these guys. And then there's more besides that. There's like hundreds more that you could study. But, you know, one of the main ones you might recognize is Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and Wim Hof. Wim Hof's the guy that climbs mountains in his shorts and can fight off enteroviruses being injected directly into him because he has control of his breath, therefore control of his immune system, control of his nervous system, control of his endocrine systems. So I hope y'all do a little more studying on this. I'll make some more videos in the future. If this helped you, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell. Share this with everybody, because right now people are really worried about their lung function, whether they're sick or not. Even if you never get sick, and you know for a fact you're never going to get sick, this will help you control anxiety and get your body kind of regulated back to how it's supposed to be, how it was when you were a kid and how it was when you were a baby. Because a baby didn't need to be told how to breathe, but as adults we do. And peace out, guys. I appreciate y'all hanging out and listening to me, and we'll see y'all next time.